body's electronics can be so damaging and even lethal. With electricity all around us, we need to better know when, why, and how electricity kills. Fortunately, we have learned much about the lethal effects of electricity, especially when it's delivered in large, abrupt doses, sometimes called jolts. This information is important for the preservation and treatment of severe electrical shocks. Since its discovery, electricity has repeatedly been employed to treat various diseases. Hampered by poor understanding of human physiology, ignorance of the mechanisms of diseases, and misunderstanding of the role of electricity in the body, the track record of early electrical therapies was spotty, to say the least. Hair removal by electricity, hair electrolysis, is perhaps one of the few early electrical medical procedures that persists, little changed, to the present day. After its early heyday, in the late 19th century, electrical therapy fell out of fashion and even became taboo within the medical community. But as the electrical and neurological sciences have matured, there has been a resurgence of interest in using electricity to treat diseases. This is particularly true for treatments of neurological disorders, such as electroconvulsive therapy for depression and deep brain stimulation for Parkinson's disease, but is also true for many other illnesses. The use of electricity for medical purposes ranges from the mental control of prosthetic limbs by amputees to the restoration of vision to the blind. In the future, electricity may even replace many drugs as first-line therapies for treating a variety of diseases. As such, it might be possible to avoid the adverse side effects of those drugs, which can often be severe. But we are also learning that electricity's use to treat anxiety can, unfortunately, sometimes be nearly as addictive as drugs. This book is not a science textbook on electricity or electrophysiology. If you are an electrical engineer or an electrophysiologist, this book will not satisfy your specialized technological needs. Rather, it is my hope that the book will be accessible to the widest possible audience. I have, therefore, avoided technical jargon and specifically focused on the stories about electricity that are important to understanding electricity's relationship to biology and health. This is also not a history of science book. Although some of the stories I relate are taken from history, and everything in the book is historically accurate, I have made no attempt to compile a complete history of electricity. Neither this book nor any other single-volume work can do justice to electricity's long and rich history. Rather, I have selectively chosen stories that illustrate the scientific points I want to focus on regarding the intersection of electricity and biology. I also plead guilty of practicing presentism, the tendency to interpret past events in terms of modern concepts, values, and understandings. Presentism is a cardinal sin for historians of science, but I am not a historian, and this is not a history book. I actually find presentism a useful tool to explain how it is that the science got us from where we were then to where we are now, which is one of my main objectives for this book. Which brings us to the logical question. If not a science textbook or a history of science book, what then is this book? I would describe it as a book of explanatory science, written in narrative style that seeks to educate and entertain. I hope you will agree that it fulfills both goals. My intended audience is inquisitive people interested in learning what electricity is and how it works, particularly with regard to how it affects people's lives. I hope that one will learn a lot of new information about electricity. But I also suspect that many people will find that what they thought they knew about electricity is wrong, or at least incomplete. For example, did you know that Benjamin Franklin almost killed himself while performing an electrical experiment with a turkey? I'll bet you thought I was going to say kite. Do you know why people and animals aren't killed by touching electric fences? Did you know that while the measured lengths of lightning bolts keep going up worldwide, with some bolts now hundreds of miles long, the annual lightning death rate in the United States